There we go.
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you now. I had my Discord muted.
Oh, no worries. What up, man?
Not a lot. I've just been kind of struggling in ZvP, and as some of the members of my chat in the higher diamond and lower master leagues have been pointing out, they're like, you don't exactly have the greatest, like, fleshed out plan.
Yeah, no, for sure.
so
what do you think about Protoss? If you like, obviously you don't have to give me an exact answer, but what do you think about Protoss makes you struggle the most?
Honestly, I think it's once I've identified what they're doing, trying to determine how committed are they to their first tech decision and what their follow-up decisions are afterwards and how I need to respond best to that without dying.
Yeah, so just like kind of like knowing how to read a Protoss essentially.
Yeah, just you can't get like generally reading, but also I feel a little lost.
Yeah, no worries. I mean, we'll definitely help you with that. There's a lot of things you can do to look at Protoss to identify what they're gonna do.
Yeah.
So cool. I mean, where are you kind of sitting at right about now? Because I know we talked before, but
so
yeah,
I peaked at right around almost 3,700,
okay.
and then I lost like 20 games.
Sure. No, I mean, it happens, right?
I went on a full tilt hard mode. Like super bad.
You're like,
super
I
bad.
fucking hate this. You just keep queuing exactly. And I lost again.
Yeah, no kidding. That is exactly what kept happening. I'm not
the last 3 games, 1 Reaper kills 1 drone. You just quit. I'm not fucking dealing with that.
It was actually worse than that. I had 1 Reaper get 6 kills. I was so tilted.
Oh yeah, that sucks.
The full tilt. Now it's just.
Yeah.
But yeah. You're like, my ZvP has been just progressively getting worse. ZvT's been getting better after we had the last coaching session, and
sure, good.
I'm still pretty decent at ZvZ for my level. So
nice. Okay. Well, sorry. That's fucking good, man. I'm happy to hear that your other matchup's doing better.
Yeah.
So how do you want to go about it today? Do you have replay prepared, or what are you thinking?
I actually DM'd you a replay on Skype.
Okay, cool.
We can use that as like a I'm gonna be honest, it's a real rough replay. I've already reviewed it. It's rough, but it has the idea of what I'm like trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's not perfect. Very, very not perfect.
All right, so I'll just to make it easy, I'll just do the Discord thing where you can see my screen share stuff.
That works.
And then yeah, and then I'll jump in the replay. And let's figure out what's going on. Let's see what's going down with you in Protoss Town.
Yeah.
All right. So as always, I'm super chill about this. You are more than welcome to interrupt me at any point in time. Even though I'm in the middle of explaining some profound topic, I'm not going to be offended if you go, no, Vibe, hold on, I need to say this. That's totally cool. I want to make sure you definitely...
Or at least, like, ask a question.
No, exactly.
Least,
right? Like, I want to make sure that you're not going to wait and then forget what you wanted to ask and then be like, wait, now I'm confused. So definitely ask if you ever have anything on your mind. But yeah, we'll see what's going on. Definitely... We'll take a look at your build here and see if your build looks like it makes sense and really see if your build... What's up?
I kind of like vaguely did a close approximation of what we had talked about in the Terran video, or the Terran coaching session.
Yeah.
Because it's like reasonably close. You could probably do something similar. I'm going to do something close to the approximation of that.
Okay. Well, I'll give you ideas how to make it better for Protoss.
Yeah. I imagine that the opening is not a heck of a lot different.
It's not too much.
But there's like some nuance change.
100% correct. Yeah, it's similar, but you definitely can't do exacts. If you do exact, you're just going to take a bit of a disadvantage against Protoss. Like, for instance, right there, what you just did. I think I don't know. You might have taken your gas because you were worried about maybe a gas steal or something. But like, it's not the big. It's not the hugest of deals. Super minor. But you.
No, I remember that because I didn't want to deal with him blocking it. I think,
sure. Because I would say definitely. If you're not really feeling like that's gonna happen, definitely try to make sure you never disrupt 16 out of 16. It's only because your build's mineral build anyways, and you just want to make sure you're always maximizing that idea, that concept.
Yeah.
But that is super minor what I just said. Like you literally missed probably 5 minerals there, which is in the grand scheme of things, nothing.
Very, very.
Yeah. So we won't really stress on that too much.
Yeah.
All right. So your Overlord's doing a good job. Your pathing of where you're going with it is mostly good. I can tell it's maybe a little bit deeper into the bottom of the natural. It's again super close.
Yeah, I think it's more like towards the back of the natural.
Yeah.
I
would say just definitely make sure that you go towards the ramp. That way, only reason why I say that is because if the guy is cannon rushing you, you'll get a glimpse of him cannon rushing you as fast as possible with your Overlord. If you don't see
presuming he's trying to wall from ramp.
Yeah, like the upper ramp essentially.
Yeah.
Like you should see it also happening at your base, but you sometimes will get a guy who does like. And I also love your second Overlord, by the way. Very fucking good.
I was doing for Protoss. I think there was a certain point in time. I don't remember how long ago this was, where I would send that Overlord out or like have it in front of the base, and I missed the probe going into my base and get cannon rushed.
Oh, for sure. That's why I like where it is. The only thing about your Overlord that I might... Sorry, like I keep yawning. I don't know why. The only thing about your Overlord that I might say you could maybe... Like, just be aware of this is watch how the probe moves really fast. He's moving to the left, and now he goes in Fog of War. And now he's missing in Fog of War. The only thing I would recommend you to do here, a little bit different than what you're already doing, just for a moment, is right now, you should move your Overlord bottom right.
Just towards the ramp.
Exactly. Just to make sure he's not putting pylons on the triple pylon block on the top of the ramp, where he has like the one starting up, and then like if you pull drones, he'll make 2-3, and you're like, okay. And then that way you could like even pull one drone and force him to do it. Like you could react to it faster and not prevent the block off entirely, something like that. But yeah, like if their probe goes missing for more than like 5 seconds, definitely something you should be scouting.
Right. Yeah.
And he's back, so I mean he is back, but I would say taking a glance wouldn't be the worst idea because I'd be a little bit worried there might be a pylon started.
Absolutely. Happened to me a few times where like they'll disappear for a few seconds and I'm paying attention to it, going, "Hey, why are you hiding from me?"
No, exactly, and it does nothing to hurt you either. It's just like a quick move of the Overlord. Okay, and then now that he leaves, this looks very much not like a cannon rush. So now I would say you're fine.
Yeah. It's
fine. Also, here's
actually, you know what? I think that's going to the very top of that lower ramp. I think that's where it's going. It's like right around.
Yeah, I think the angle's about like right here. As I was saying, it's like it's definitely not bad at all. I would just say like it's okay.
You lose to cheese.
Honestly,
you could lose. To
well, I
cheese
mean,
or not
honestly, your Overlord's fine. I kind of I don't know why. I'm looking for things to find with your gameplay that's needing fixing, and this is like. I would say scouting like there would be great, and you scouted like there, but you're still going to see the ramp. It's so fucking minor again, so your initial scout with this is fine. It's totally okay. Just as long as you go in. And we'll talk a lot more about what this stuff means as we go into the base. This one, though, definitely needs to be a little bit more assertive about scouting the choke point. Yeah, because that's fucking scary if that happens to be a problem for you. Otherwise,
would it be better to just like park it like slightly?
Thank you for the raid, Lily.
To the ramp, so that
Much
way
love.
You can just naturally see that, or it's just not matter.
So you should go here like you did in the first place. That's great. But if the probe ever goes missing there, you should watch for a sec. And the reason why you don't want to just go here too much is because if you create fog of war there, and the probe comes up and goes in here, and he starts cannoning on the side.
In the fog of war,
yeah. You don't want that to happen. That's not exactly
really annoying.
Yeah, that could be a problem for you too. So I love that you see the whole ramp. But if he ever goes missing, you definitely want to just take a quick poke and peek to be like, are you making a pylon? No. Okay, cool. We'll go right back now. And now you could actually, if this point even, you can do whatever you want with this Overlord. You can move it in the front to deal with adept scouting. You can move it towards his base in case you want to have a backup Overlord to scout or whatever the hell you want to do. Or you can
I'm going to get Overlord speed this game, so is it better to have 2 OVs over there, or is it just better to have the one so you can get at least the initial text?
If you're going to have Overlord speed, you should just put 2 over there, yeah? Because you could always retreat if it's a Stargate, and if you're going to go all the way to Overlord speed, if the first one happens to die to like as your Overlord speed's on the way, like let's say this guy goes Sentry Hallucination with the Phoenix, and a Stalker, and he kills your Overlord straight up, and it dies right before Overlord speed.
Or something like that, and is being chased by a Void Ray, you at least have something else to
well, you'll most likely have an Overlord speed upgrade done before Stargate like has a Void Ray out. But if you were to go for like a Chrono boosted Stalker into a Sentry, there's a good chance your Overlord could die before that could affect. Like, because that'll happen. That's happening like before the Stargate would even be done.
Right.
Like he could be making those units pretty fast.
Yeah, be delaying the Stargate in order.
Actually, it's about the same time. I'm kind of bullshitting you again here. Like I don't like he'd have to wait for the energy of hallucination. It's about the same. It's fine. I'm just gonna tell you something though right now. Okay, this is important. This is super important information. If you actually go all the way to Overlord speed, That is fucking invested again. That is, I think we talked about this last time. If we talked about this with Terran, it's something you can't have a bad reaction to now. You have to have perfect reactions because that is fucking expensive.
Because you're spending a lot of extra gas in order to be able to get speed.
For sure, and you could actually read a lot of what Protoss does without even having Overlord speed. Honestly, there's a lot of things that tell you what he's going to do before you have to see it. So we'll go into it. We'll talk about it. Your build overall, though, again, is fine so far. Your third base is gonna get set up super soon. This definitely looks very CVT-esque. Now, the only thing I don't want you to do here, which is what I thought you were gonna do, because you said you do the same thing every time. You definitely don't want to make lings here right now, because these are Reaper lings. But if you think about this,
right? Yeah, I think it's just like part of the habit.
No, well, 100%.
It makes sense not to have it right now, because what is he gonna have? A zealot?
Yeah, exactly.
He's obviously not building. Yeah, you can see the gateway.
So, like at the earliest, he's not going to have an adept at your base until probably around like just after 3 minutes. That's the fastest he could do. And the reason why is because not only does he have to travel across the map, which is time, but he also can't even start an adept yet. And when he can start one, it's 30 seconds later. So his
it's like 24 seconds or something like that for an adept build time or something.
It's 30 seconds.
Yeah.
So he's got like another 7 seconds to go on building the building, which is going to be 211, and then he's got 30 seconds to wait on an adept, which is going to be 241, and then he has to cross the map. So he's definitely not going to get to your base until right around 3 minutes, and you making lings right now, all they're going to do is sit here the whole time when they could have been drones mining.
Yeah, that is kind of the thing.
Yeah, so this is definitely good for ZVT, definitely shit for ZvP.
Which makes sense.
Yeah,
because they're not going to have anything.
Yeah, like these lings would be dealing with the Reaper if a Reaper, because a Reaper gets made right out of the racks. He doesn't have to wait for a core. So that's now the first deviation you need to make in your build here, but from one matchup to another.
Okay.
Now Overlord. Well, let's pay attention to your Overlord really fast. We'll come back to your build further in a second, but let's really look at your Overlord and see what you want to do with it.
That Overlord's going to go immediately down to the south, southeast of the base. Yeah, into the
Okay. So
once speed is like almost complete, that Overlord is gonna run directly into his main base to see what he can see.
Okay, so I'm actually gonna times for this, and I'm gonna see how long you wait to scout. I just want to see your scouting right here. I want to talk about what I want to get a feel for like how you're looking at the game and like actually.
I'm gonna get really lucky on this actually, because one of the Overlords is gonna scout exactly what he's proxying.
Okay, so you saw that, sure, that's nice.
Yeah.
And then you see. Okay, so if you were to be in the game right now, I'm gonna actually ask you a question here. If you were in the game right now and you saw all of this, what do you think this would mean to you?
To me, he's not. I specifically went back to the proxy to see if there was a dark shrine over there. That was my first thought.
Okay.
And then when I saw the extra gateways, because I see the one gateway finishing up there to the top of his base. I'm thinking it's one of two things. It's either going to be like some kind of DT rush, or it's going to be a charge lot push.
So
that's my very first thoughts.
Okay.
What it's going to be.
That's not a bad read, but you can take it to the extent of really breaking down his economy and helping it understand what things mean to you. And I would say this: if this guy still has not taken gases at his natural at 4 minutes, and this is clearly when that this dude could have like. So you just left the gases, and you're now going into the main base, and you now see gateways that are either finishing, or they're very far along, and this dude has a lot of gates and no gas. It's not DTs. Like if this guy's going DTs, it's super inefficient DTs. Even if
he won't have very many.
Well, yeah, like it's he can't afford it. Like literally, he does like a DT is fucking expensive on gas. A dark shrine,
125, I think.
It's
like that.
yeah. It's 125. It's pretty much. Is it like what the now I'm like fucking brain farting here. Yeah, it's 125, 125. I was like, yeah, that sounds right, but I'm like not 100% confident to say yes to that. But yes, you're right on that. So, anyways, the point I'm trying to make though is. Getting a dark shrine, getting like warp gate, getting a council, getting a dark shrine, making them DTs. You can't really afford this with also making all these gateways like this off of literally just 2 gases. So for this to make a logical sense for a build, it's most likely going to be charge lots, maybe adepts It could be adepts as well, because adepts are really light on the gas. He could still do that. He just would have a later transition.
Gas,
well, if you think about it like this. If this guy wanted to go charge lots, he could totally go charge lots, and then also he could mix it in with like a robo, which is more gas, that he could make a warp prism with, and like fly to your base with a warp prism and have like a warp prism fucking drop in adepts all over your, or drop in zealots all over your base, essentially, like with warp pins.
Yeah.
That's very totally viable. And then he could also transition out of that, if he doesn't kill you with that, into a faster round of like, now he gets a forge and gets weapon upgrades. Now he gets immortals being made. Now maybe he wants to make a Stargate. Whatever he wants to do, he'll have a little bit of a gas bank because he's not spending gas throughout the fight. But with adepts, if he wanted to do that instead, you could actually maintain production off of gateways off of like 6-7 gates with 2 gases just making adepts, because it's only 25 gas per adept, and in the duration of how long it takes to make them, you can mine more gas than they cost. But you would be spending most of your gas in the process. So if he like failed doing an adept attack to you, he would just have a very late transition because he's kind of using it up as he's attacking you with what he has, if that makes sense. So understanding the difference there is kind of important, because like it's just understanding how Protoss works. Because in one way, you'd have to be like, okay, well now we got to really be assertive about scouting the follow-up. And in another way, you'd be like, well, I got time because there is no follow-up. It's just starting now, if that makes sense. If you didn't die to either one of them. Charge Lot has follow-up, Adepts does not. If you saw gas development like this. Like, this is just one way to look at Protoss's economy and understand what it means. So, mass gates and no gas definitely does not mean DTs. It definitely means that we're going to be seeing some charge lots most likely.
And that's what I did right there. Like in like a half a second, if you were looking at my vision, I went back and I looked at the proxy. I don't remember when, but I looked at the proxy. Okay, was there like a little tiny pylon looking?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I went back.
If there's like a pylon or like a little itty bitty pylon looking building warping in? Because if that is, then he's doing some kind of weird Dark Templar attack. In which case, okay, maybe I want to get like a spore crawler or something.
Ure. Okay,
so kill off the proxy.
Basically, I would your build definitely is gonna need to change. I'm not gonna lie. We'll come back and talk about your build in a sec, but like for instance,
it's very
well, for like the fact that you made a bunch of links against this is ideally not at all what you want to be doing. I know.
No,
now
I didn't have my roach warren down at the time.
Yeah, now going speedlings, like that's right. We'll talk about that too. You definitely need to take a roach warren at a proper time versus Protoss, like all the time, because roach warren's pretty fucking mandatory in this matchup. Lings do not fare well against anything that can come out of a council opener except for Blink Stalker. That's the only one that they could do well against. Adepts, charge lots, and Archon builds, or Templar builds that can turn into Archon builds, they fucking suck against all of them. Yeah, they're terrible. They're just not good. They're good against Stargate builds as well, but obviously this guy's not going Stargate. But I would say this too. So your scout went off. Really talking about your scouting again. Your scout didn't go off at all until about 4 minutes. And by now, your build is kind of already set in stone as to what you want to be doing. And your build right now is literally a queen-heavy Zergling build with low gas. Because you have, and the reason why you have low gas is because you're still only on 1 gas, which is basically okay. But at the same time, it's all being used up in the form of Overlord speed and Zergling speed. So you don't really have gas to spare. So you're kind of forced into a Ling build already. Which is why I'm not the biggest fan of you having Overlord speed as a priority here. Because you're kind of stuck now in whatever's going to happen. So if we go back, I want to go back to your very first scout when it first happened and just show you something. So Overlord gets into his base. Full 2 minutes earlier in the game. The only way a Protoss is not going to supply block by the time your Overlord gets into his main base, like as you fly into his base, if you were to just go all the way in, he would have to have a pylon in the base somewhere in here to not supply block. Otherwise, he would literally just be blocking all day. And if he doesn't have a pylon in there, 100% that means he's probably going, or very, very high chances that he's going to be proxying you. Unless you just somehow missed a fucking section of his base and he has a pylon hiding in his base somewhere.
Or if he's bad. That's also an option too.
It could happen, but yeah. I mean, most people are going to have a second pylon.
Not nearly as likely.
Yeah, I would say that's it could be happening, but it definitely don't ever want it. You don't ever want to read the game that way because it's just giving you a bad read. It's not like you're just hoping that they're shitty at the game then.
Which is not very reliable.
So, if your Overlord, let's assume your Overlord kept going to the left. Here's a cool thing to understand. So this is something I tell a lot of
into the main base.
Yeah. So this is something I tell a lot of Zerg players, and it's a way to abuse economy, and because a lot of Zerg players have this common fear that losing the Overlord is gonna lose. Like it's just not worth it. You're like, oh well, if the Overlord dies, then that's like a waste of fucking money, right? But if you think about it like this, if the core finishes at 211, okay, you have 30 seconds. So these are very, very, very important numbers to understand. If you ever listen to this again, or if you want to write this down or whatever, you need to remember what I'm about to say because it's super fucking important. Okay, I mean you'll have the VOD too, so you can always come back and listen to it as well.
Of course, yeah, I've actually done that with your Terran video quite a few times.
But
you go back and watch it.
A non-chrono boosted stalker or adept takes 30 seconds to make.
Which would be 240 roughly here.
Yes. A chrono boosted, now if there's chrono boost, if a chrono boosted adept or stalker takes 20 seconds to make instead of 30.
Right.
So if your Overlord leaves this location going into the main base now, and as the ass end of the vision sees the gateway, you will either see it be chronoed or not chronoed as you leave it, because you're still seeing the gateway with the core being done for roughly like 5-6 seconds. That's a good chunk of time for him to make a decision. So he's going to make a decision. No one's going to just wait for like 12 seconds on a gateway and then go, oh, I feel like chronoing it now, because you're going to get really shitty chrono out of that. It's going to be very delayed. Most people will do it right away if they want to do it, or they won't do it if they don't want to do it. Now, here's where this makes a lot of sense. If you understand the timer of the chrono or of the non-chrono, and you can calculate that and go quickly, okay, I have until X amount of time before I have to deal with whatever comes out of that gateway. If your Overlord, let's say your Overlord is right here, okay? Right here. By 240, which is very realistic. 30 seconds to go that far is super realistic for a slow Overlord. If your Overlord is like over here in his base, and at 241, your Overlord now, you're paying attention to it, and you now have a new timer starts, which is roughly about like, let's say 5 seconds. And what this timer represents is the walk time from gateway to Overlord. If a stalker walks at your Overlord within about 5 seconds after the stalker could have been done, so if he chrono boosts it, it would be 231. If he doesn't chrono boost it, it would be 241. If you remember that,
like 245 if it's not being shot at.
Roughly,
he didn't
yes.
Go stalker.
You just add in like an extra 5 seconds to the build time of the unit to go. If my Overlord gets shot,
to another place.
Yes, and here's why this is important. Okay, you just don't fucking make lings at all if it's a stalker, and you do make lings if your Overlord does not get attacked by what should have been a stalker. So
right,
and
the lings only take 11 seconds to build anything.
They take 17, but you were close.
Oh,
yeah, it's okay.
But
that's fine. It's fine. You're totally fine. It doesn't matter. The idea is, yes, a ling is really fast, but
yeah, they build quick.
The point is if you get to like 245, let's say it's no chrono boost, you're here at 245 or 246, and you're like, okay, I'm not getting shot by a adept or by a stalker. He must have made an adept. What that means is now you're going to make lings when his adept is about right there instead of right there. If that makes sense. Stalker would have been there. Adept would be like right there. And now you have all this time to react before he gets to your base, and you'll have lings popping out anyways before he gets there. And here's why this is super important to understand this difference of how to open against Protoss. If you make drones, and you make nothing but drones, and he kills your Overlord with a stalker, you will absolutely make more money than what that Overlord cost you, because of the amount of drones you're going to make, and the amount of time between now.
Getting 2 additional drones rather than making the Zerglings is a big deal.
Well, yeah, I mean, I hope you're only making two.
Just to start with.
Yes, and I would.
Yeah.
I would also say I hope you're stopping at 2 Zerglings as well, like 2 sets of Zerglings, and not making like even more, because
making like 10, which is way too many.
Yeah, well, I mean, it just gives you more money, and time with money, or money over time, is giving you more minerals than what that Overlord costs. Like 2 drones mining minerals for 50 seconds which is the difference between now and 3 minutes before the adept will get there, already pays for the Overlord. And then the drones are out the entire time, so they're mining the entire time from then on as well, because you just have them and it's not Lings sitting there doing nothing.
Right.
Now, if you're going to get Zergling speed, you still do make Lings eventually. You would make Lings... If there is no Stalker attacking you, you would make 6 Lings, okay? That's a good number to have. You would make 6 Lings. And the reason why you make 6 is because 6 Lings is enough to... And here's how you would micro it, okay? This is super... Again, it's super important to understand this. This is all about an adept not fucking your mineral line. The way you would micro it is this. You go... First 2 queens. Inject.
Yep.
Inject. Yep. And you reverse it from how you play against... you could go inject tumor or you can go inject. I don't give a shit. You could do either one against Protoss, honestly.
I
Protoss...
think I still go inject tumor or something
That's fine.
like that.
That's fine. Protoss doesn't have the Hellions like Terran does, so the capability of him harassing your third base is not as scary. So if you go inject or inject tumor, either way is fine. We'll just keep it simple and say inject tumor. That's totally fine. So you go inject in the main, tumor at the natural, forward. Immediately what you do next against Protoss is you make another queen in the main base, not at the natural. So you would start Overlord speed. If you were to be going Overlord speed, you would be getting it in the natural, but let's assume you're not going to get it anymore.
I'm in no way married to Overlord speed, because if I don't get it, I don't get it. It's not the end of the
world. That's fine. Okay, so get another queen in the main, okay? You get a second queen started out of the main hatchery, and you drag the queen in the main down to the natural.
Yep.
And the reason why this makes sense is because if you look at when queens are going to spawn, they're going to spawn right around the time, around 3 minutes in front of your base. Like they're gonna be able to be grouped up right around when the adept would arrive. So what you can do is the adept tries to run your base, and you smack the adept with 2 queens. If he just runs away, he just runs away. If he doesn't run away and he shades past the queens, your Lings chase the shade.
Just to stay on top of it, so when he unshades, he's automatically surrounded.
Yeah, because you do fucking not want your Lings chasing the adept and having him shade away from you, because all you're gonna happen then is you're gonna run off of creep without speed, because your speed won't be done by then. Even if you go speed first, you'll have Lings getting kited, and you'll lose probably 2, maybe 3 of them as the adept attacks and runs away, and then he'll shade in somewhere else, and then you'll have, if you only had like 1 queen here, and you had 1 queen here, and the adept killed like 3 of your Lings, and the other 3 are still out here, you'll have 1 queen trying to fight off 1 adept with like no shields but still has a full health bar, and if you don't micro your drones properly now, that adept could probably kill 4 drones before it dies.
You lose a lot of drones, and it's really annoying.
So, you don't want to fuck this up. You want to make sure you can handle the first 3 minutes of ZvP, because if you can, it makes you have such a better economy.
Yep.
So 2 queens in the front that zone out the adept, and they also protect your creep tumor, and then 6 Lings chase the adept shade, and then you don't make any more Lings until your Zergling speed is just about done, which is going to be kind of shortly after this. You're going to probably be making the other, like, let's say 8 more Lings to go to a total of about 14. Again, the numbers I like to give people, which is
your safety net, of Lings.
Yeah, the number I like to give people is 12 to 16. Anywhere in there is fine. So if you make, if you literally make 6 and then 6 more, that's fine. If you make 6 and then 10 more, that's fine. Or anywhere in between.
But you don't want to make more than that.
You do not, because like you don't want to be on mass Lings. Mass Lings suck ass against Protoss, unless they're going Stargate. It's the only time you can do mass Lings is when they go Stargate. Because
but that's more of an advanced level strategy, and I'm not trying to dick around.
Well, I mean, it's just a different reaction. You don't want to be going for heavy Lings against fucking council openers, which is what you're dealing with. Which is why I wanted you to scout earlier, because you don't know what you're dealing with. That's the whole reason why I want you to scout earlier, because I'm saying you actually could go Lings, but you need to know it's a Stargate before 4 minutes.
Yeah.
So
because their tech will go down at what, like
right now,
like
honestly,
2 minutes to 2.5 minutes.
So. Okay, we'll come back to that.
We'll come back to that.
Yeah, just a second. Just to finish this point of the Ling thing, you need to have about 12 to 16 Lings, and anywhere in between. And the reason why you need that many Lings is because if the Protoss groups up 2 adepts, he can now fucking one-shot your drones. But if you have 16, anywhere between 12 and 16 Lings, you can stop the adepts from doing that really well, because now you can get aggressive off creep and chase them down with speed and kill them, and then you can go scout for third base and shit like that. It makes it
just be generally annoying.
Kinda. It's more about like If the guy is walled off, you're not going to be super annoying because you're just going to lose
No.
lings if you try to attack. But
Yeah, you
it's,
don't take wrong with
it's really just
I make a mistake doing that later on in the game.
no. It's just about scouting the third really. At that, if you kill the adepts and now you have lings, it's just about not letting them have a third base that's undetected. And you're like, cool, I know you have a third. Awesome. It's just reading the Protoss essentially. And your Overlord, again, helps you a lot as to how to read him. This Overlord, the first Overlord, is fucking huge at giving you a lot of information. So, that, overall, would be your ideal setup on an average game. And then, just to come back to the thing we were talking about a second ago now, if the guy did go Stargate, and this is not required, but if you decided, you know what, instead of stopping lings at 12 to 16, I'm going to make 40. I'm going to make 36. I'm going to make 30, whatever. You're going to make a lot more. You would need to guarantee that the Protoss is going to try to take a greedy third, and you're going to punish him for that by making a bigger round of lings, and you're going to kill whatever tries to protect it, and also kill the third entirely. Like, you're going to deny it, essentially. That's the only way that would make sense. Exactly. It is committed. So that's like, you would need to make a good judgment call there, because if you make a bunch of lings, and he just doesn't go for a third, or even worse, if you make a bunch of lings and he does take a third, but he defends it because you fuck up with micro in some way, you're super behind if you make one of those two bad choices. But if he does go for a third and you make a bunch of lings and you deny it and you kill adepts that are there or whatever, and probes, like we're talking not about a third that's like looking like this, okay? It's not supposed to look like that. We're talking about a third that would look like that. Like it looks like it's a nexus under construction, and there might be like one or two adepts there trying to defend it, and that's it. And like a void ray. But you have enough lings to like still take damage from the void ray and kill everything there. That's what I'm kind of talking about. That's when it would make sense.
Mm-hmm.
But if the guy opens up Robo, or if he opens up Council, and he takes a third, and you try to go lings to stop that, and he's got like sentries, he's got adepts, he's got
things to stop you.
Yeah, exactly. If he's got things that will fucking own lings, and you fail really hard because of that, you're so far behind in the game at that point if you go for that. So you need to know when to pick your battles. Like,
right.
Don't make a lot of lings unless it's fucking Stargate, essentially, is the point there. Otherwise, you only make 12 to 16 and you stop just for protection of adepts for the early drone economy.
Sounds good.
Okay, now coming back to your scout again, talking about what could have happened, okay? If your Overlord was scouting to the left now, again, actually, there's another big piece of information here. There's so much to fucking read about Protoss in the very beginning. Another piece of information to read is right here. Watch when it's actually right on it, but yeah, I want to give you the idea of the visual when the core finishes. When the core is just finishing from Protoss, you can tell a lot from this. You can tell, are they rushing tech or are they not? Because if they don't spend their gas right away on this finishing right away, it means that they're rushing tech. And if they do spend their gas, it means that they're not rushing tech, and their tech will be a little bit later, but more standard, because they'll be playing a little bit safer with a faster unit, or potentially more aggressive.
Yeah, because they're going to want to have something to defend their natural base.
I mean, they might harass you as well. Like, if they want to defend, they're going to make a Stalker, which is also going to try and deny your Overlord. And if they want to attack you, they're going to make an Adept, which is going to walk across the map, generally speaking. For most people. They're like, once you get, like, high enough. But yeah, so, as you see, core finishes. Let's look at the time here. How much time goes by before he spins it? So, it's done. How long goes by before he uses the other building?
13, 14, 15.
That was a pretty decent amount. He still hasn't even started Warp Gate, by the way.
It's like good 5 seconds.
And the way you can tell is the gateway has the crystal like going all glowy and shit on the top of it.
It looks like a disco.
Yeah, and the sides come up as well. And then the core, the top of it starts spinning super fast. It like just it's very noticeable when it's not and when it is spinning.
And it like lights up and pulsates.
Yep. So that's now 5 seconds that went by, and he just now started something out of the gateway. So this is the kind of player that if I hit the production tab, it would not be I mean, he's not doing it, but it wouldn't be surprising if this guy actually made tech before using this wall. Like, actually,
it's more than likely that pylon up there is the proxy, more than likely.
Well, okay, so this doesn't always mean proxy. I don't want you to look at this.
Yeah, obviously, yeah. It's not always proxy. It's just that he's not taking, he's not prioritizing units. He's prioritizing tech first, as you said.
Exactly, because his gas is not being prioritized in the wall. So where the fuck is his gas going? That's a question, right? That it could mean it could be proxy, but It doesn't have to be. So that's why a lot of times your Overlord, if it goes to the left now, you can confirm that. Because if you look at his main base, there is no pylon in the main base. So this would be a moment where you would go, if your Overlord, instead of going from like here to here, like where it is now, if you were going to the left, you would confirm, okay, this guy is, you know, no second pylon. So
it's like you're still building probes, obviously, because the crystal above your nexus is swirling.
Yeah, I mean, that's. I mean, that's not. I'm not gonna lie. That's a good observation to make. In the game right now, though, I would say it's a little too early to think too hard about that. It's. I don't want to shit on your observation though. It is really good to think about that. But right now, if you think about it in a sense that like he just is barely saturating the main, and he took a natural, he's. It's like obvious that he's gonna keep making probes, like he needs to. But yeah, it's a good like paying attention to details like that is super relevant. So don't stop doing that. But for sure, definitely, yeah, good job.
It's not 110% the priority.
It's just like it's obvious that he's gonna keep making probes right now. He should be. Yeah. Otherwise, his build is completely fucking terrible.
0 out of 10 would not do again.
So, I mean, yeah, there's no pylon here at all ever. This is a huge sign. This now guarantees there is a proxy, and by now, your Overlord would be deep in his base. You would guaranteed see all of this area.
I would have looked all around his main by now.
Yeah, you would have been you would have had some good surface area all over the place. So this would guarantee now, if your Overlord by now at 246, 247, right now would be, okay, I am not getting attacked by a. Well, I mean, also, you got to keep this in mind, too, okay? So, if the guy made the unit immediately, this timer would make sense. But if you notice, his adept still isn't done yet for 5 seconds. And why is that? Because he fucking started... Yeah, exactly. He waited super fucking late to make this adept. So, that is something else you'd have to keep in mind. You just have to understand, when the adept starts, there's 30 seconds that are going to go by if it's not chronoed, or 20 seconds if it is.
And then just keep a ballpark number of where you're... What time you're looking for.
Because like a big thing you could be doing now is if you made lings to deal with adepts, and then adept didn't show up, and now you made the other lings to deal with because your speed's almost done, because you're gonna go for a Zergling speed upgrade, then you could then go scout for the fucking proxy. You could then decide, okay, well, he's not attacking me with adepts, and he has no pylon in the main base.
Use the speedlings and send them out through the flanks of the sides of the map to see where the proxy is.
Exactly. Like you could totally go scout around for the map for proxy then, for sure. Which would be around like 3:30.
So the reality of the whole thing is that I don't necessarily need to be charging into the Protoss's base right around 4 minutes to be able to figure out what they're doing. I just need to kind of have a general idea of what they could do based off of what they have.
Just to throw it out there, you should know what the Protoss is doing based off the scout we just had.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because it's based off of gas, and it's also based off of priority, and like also like you have things like Chrono Boost, for instance. So here's an example. What's up?
Oh, excuse me.
Okay.
Sorry, I was.
Oh, no worries. So
I had a nap earlier, and now I drank a Monster. So
it's all good. You're all good.
It.
So think about things like this. Think about Chrono Boost energy. And think about if the Protoss has not yet so you also have to realize that if you scout into a guy's base, and if he does not prioritize tech really fast, like if he goes for something in the wall, okay, and then he also has no Chrono Boost, the chances of him going for like a Stargate are incredibly low. That's especially proxied, because you got to think about what logically makes sense. That things that pair together. If someone's gonna actually proxy you with a Stargate, the chances of them Chrono Boosting the Stargate are way fucking higher than just making a Stargate and just letting it build normally. Because
what you're saying is that you'd see a lot of banked chrono energy.
Probably, yes. I would be like, okay, there is no Chrono Boost on the Nexus, and there is no pylon here. Okay, so he's proxying me, but he doesn't have a lot of chrono, so it's probably not going to be a Stargate. It's probably going to be something more like maybe what he's doing, which could be like some weird fucking like Council or Robo. Something that, or probably Council, because that relies more on gateways.
Because Robo would also, you would also want to bank up energy so you could chrono out whatever you're trying to proxy.
And no one really, I'm not gonna lie, no one really chronos Immortals against Zerg. It's more of a PvP thing. It's certainly a Zerg thing, but it's just like you can definitely tell if someone has a lot of chrono energy that they're gonna probably use it in some way. They're saving it for a reason. They're not just not knowing how to use the mechanics of Protoss. It's like saying a Zerg Diamond doesn't know how to inject larva. So they know what they're doing with it. They're just saving it for a reason if they have it. So it makes more sense that it would be something high tech priority. Another way you can,
or they're getting like really distracted and they haven't injected in a while or whatever. Chrono boosted,
sure,
drop mules, etc.
Another thing
that's happened to me a lot.
No, for sure. Another thing to keep in mind too is gas priority. If someone has the higher the gas priority someone has, the higher they're going to do something that's more expensive on gas. Dark Templars, expensive. Stargate, expensive. Robo, kind of medium, and just straight up only council with gateway stuff, pretty medium to light.
Right.
So you can kind of like get an idea what build they're going for based off how early they took their gas. So if you scout into their base and you see, holy fuck, this guy has both gases like really low already, like compared to what I have. He's had both gases like as a gas priority over the mineral line. Like if for instance,
they start with 2250.
Yep. Yeah. So if both gases are like the easiest way to tell this is if you look at your gas has mine it's down to 2062 left. His gas is at 2038, which means he barely took a gas faster than you. Okay, now that's fine. That's one gas. That's normal. But if his second gas is at all remote, like if let's say his second gas is at 2068, and you're like, wait, what? Holy fuck, he's mine.
That's an absurdly
fast like
gas.
his second gas is like almost the same as your first gas or some shit like that. Like if he's like both gases are about the same, and you're like, okay, this guy has a lot of gas priority build. But if this guy has a second gas that's really, really, really a lot later, you can tell. This is 140 difference of gas mining here, which is a lot of time that went by. This is not a gas
like
priority.
A minute and a half.
Yeah, what this means is the Protoss went for a mineral priority and then took one gas after and then expanded and then took the other gas after as well. So it's normal. He filled up the mineral line and then filled up the gases one by one. So that's normal. This is not a gas priority. This is a standard looking build so far. So this is, again, not a gas priority build, and what the gas priority builds are things like a Dark Templar build, or things like a Proxy Stargate, stuff like that. Right. So that's why this Overlord is so fucking huge to scout into the main, because you could not only see Proxy...
And to not just run it away and be scared.
Yeah, because it shows you placement priority, and it shows you gas priority. It shows you a lot of things. It shows you chrono priority. Gives you a ridiculous amount of information that you fucking need right now to really understand what he's doing. So I know we talked about a lot of shit, but does it make sense? Or how do you feel?
This is a lot of the stuff that I don't really fully understand about Protoss. I've even played Protoss on the ladder and never really thought about this. Like, I've just considered, okay, well, I'm going to play economically, so I'm not going to be prioritizing gas. I've never really stopped to consider what that might mean.
Well, the easiest thing to understand is, too, just think about it like this, too. The easiest thing to understand is, if the Protoss doesn't have a pylon in his base, and a second pylon at all, then go fucking send a Zergling out to go scout.
It's a proxy. You're getting you just got to find where it is.
Yeah, that's the easiest way to read what you're seeing here. If you find the proxy, now you fucking see what it is, and it's super easy to, like, make sense of what the hell's happening to you. Okay. So, scouting, I would recommend that you listen to what we just talked about multiple times, a lot. Like, try to really, like, understand what fucking this shit means, because it is super important to know what Protoss is doing right off the bat. Because now we'll go back to your build. We'll talk about your build, okay? So
and it's total mediocrity, but okay.
It's all good. So what your build should be is very greedy right now with drones as much as possible with just safety lings. You should be starting a I like that you're starting a third queen before. I want to see how long you waited on your queen though, really fast. And this is something that will change.
I think it is kind of a long time.
Yeah, I think it'll change
at least a minute.
If you're not going so crazy on gas, it'll be easier to afford your queen like right away.
Yeah, that is enough. So if I pull 2 off gas, it'll be a lot easier.
Yeah. Because
so that's a good 30 seconds, I think.
Yeah, you waited a bit, but one thing you want to be doing is, regardless of if you go for a double inject with this queen or if you go for a 2-word inject with this queen should do 2 spells, okay? It's going to do 2 fucking spells, And then,
yeah, that one will come back.
No, I saw.
I
know
hope
it
this
does.
doesn't come back to haunt me
It
because
does.
I
It
didn't go
does.
and look, but
It
yeah, it'll
injects.
come back and inject.
It's just what I want you to do though is I want you to have a queen at the third base as it's finished. So when this queen casts its second spell, whatever it is, you're gonna have so basically you have 3 spells and 2 spells from this one and 1 spell from the one in the hatchery that would be started if you started it right after the first queen. And what that would be is it would add up to 2 injects and a tumor, and it doesn't matter what order you do it in. Overall. But ideally, again, you're going to be doing it with the queen in the main, as we talked about earlier, if you do it the way I said earlier. It's just, you're still making the extra queen really fast either way. But the point is a queen, this queen, is going to still have its spell cast before this queen's going to spawn, in general. So you'd want to have,
way before.
You'd want to have your existing queen go to the third base as this queen sets up to inject the hatchery the next time. So you would want to have basically the point I'm trying to make here is you want to line it up to go, okay, I have an inject, and I have an inject right as the hatchery's done. You don't miss it. The only hatcheries that miss an inject are the first 2 hatcheries because you had to start queens out of the first 2 hatcheries. But from then on, forever, every hatchery you make from then on is always going to have a queen ready to inject it right as it's finished.
Okay.
That's a huge thing that you can work on in every matchup as well. It makes it so fucking strong.
I'm down with that.
And then around 3:30 to 3:40 on the clock should be when you take your Roach Warren every single game against Protoss. So
really,
yes.
So I'm taking it a full 30 seconds late on average because usually I try to take it around 4 minutes.
Yeah. So yeah, it's you wanna definitely take that shit like right now, because the reason why is because all the timings that Protoss can do are like gonna hit you around just before or right around at like 5 minutes if the Protoss is gonna do a 2-base timing to you.
And a Roach Warren takes about 30 seconds to build, so it finishes about 4 minutes. It gives you at least two full. Thank you for the follow, Haas 312. Haas was here. Oh my god. Anyway.
Nice.
So it basically gives you a full minute of spawning and injecting, which is over 3 hatcheries, 3, 6, 9, 15.
I mean,
ish.
So you don't always want to make mass roaches the entire time. It's just it gives you basically 330 to 340 Roach Warren gives you the ability to defend someone who's going to do a premature timing where they just use stock units without upgrades and they just straight up attack you with like 4 adepts or 5 adepts if he's that kind of a player. Or it will give you the ability to have roaches out guaranteed before you get hit by any charge lots or whatever the fuck's glaive adepts, anything. You just want to like you need it early because if you don't have it, you will get fucking owned in larva usage. Like you will take so much damage.
Yeah.
There's just too many things Protoss can do.
And that's the thing that's happened to me a lot where they won't even be doing like an adept all in, right? But they'll just get glaives, have like 8 adepts or something like that, and then just go attack while they're taking a third base, attacking behind.
For sure.
And I'm just like super tilted because now I can't really do anything about that, and I'm permanently behind.
Yep. No, for sure. And then another thing too would be if you were scouting this guy's base, this guy didn't even make a stalker, so you would have had access to see that he was making like what he was doing with his whole base entirely. And if you would have seen these gateways going down right as they started, straight up, if you scouted his base initially and you're like, okay, you
like
have
a good 15 seconds ago, right? Ish.
No, like 2 minutes. Literally 2 minutes. Like we're talking about your first scout. If you scouted into his base, and you were like, no pylon, that's a first sign into the reality of what the game is becoming. And then if this guy, you're fearing his base, and now he shows you a 3rd or a 4th pylon going down, and you see gateways going down in his base, like at 3 minutes and 20 seconds, 3:30. You're like, okay, this guy's increasing his gateway count, and he also has, and let's say a ling, just like one ling after you made it a ling for the adept, came down and poked the, because you're like scouting for the adepts, right? That's what we told you to do. And a ling came down here and poked the doorway, and you also had lings running around the map. And let's say you hadn't even seen the proxy yet, even if you haven't even seen this yet. If you're seeing gateway there with a Zergling, and now you're seeing all these gateways getting thrown out at his main base, as the gateways start, okay, we're talking about like 30 seconds ago, roughly, like as they're beginning to go down, you could react. You could have reacted to this by going, let's just double gas it up. Let's take more gas right now, so I can
Yeah.
increase my roach production because this is
that's the standard response. Because if I've seen anything that is not Stargate, because in my mind there's if it's Stargate, I can keep droning and not take gases 2 and 3 for a while, but if it is anything but a Stargate, I need to take gases 2 and 3 before I really start droning my third hard. Like, is that like wholly wrong all the time, or is it like a ish okay?
You could do mostly a standard build most of the time anyways, but I want you to realize that your Overlord speed that you're going for is slowing your build down every time again.
Yes. Yeah.
And you're not actually utilizing it until it's too late anyways. Like it's if you were gonna go Protoss, or sorry, if you were gonna go Overlord speed against Protoss, it's weird, but it's actually something that you would actually need to do before Zergling speed to actually get any use out of it before it's too late. And I don't even recommend that you do that. That's
No.
like that, you know, that's way advanced.
That's so committed.
Yeah, exactly. It's it increases the chance you're gonna get fucked by adepts. And but it would be like, I got a better scout. That's the kind of shit you'd see like Cyril doing against like Showtime because he's gonna meta some weird fucking build. Or
Well,
something
sure,
like that.
yeah, like, you know, he's gonna go disruptor drop and he's gonna just barely miss the scout.
But
Cyril.
yeah, right. But yeah, like if you just don't go for Overlord speed and you kind of rely a little bit more on your initial scout with this initial Overlord and get a better read right off the bat, and you can also increase your economy. You can increase your economy faster, and a good time to take gas against Protoss is genuinely when you're at 16, 16, 8, double gas immediately. So when you're at 16, 16 on 2 bases, you fill up the gas again, and when you're on 8, you add 2 more gases. That's a nice standard time if you don't know what you're doing. If you're like, I didn't get a good read here, you could do that. And what would happen is you would have a nice drone count that could afford to make roaches right as your roach warren is going to be finishing around that time. Because by about like a little bit after 4 minutes, you should be at that drone count already.
So when you're talking about taking gases 2 and 3, we're also saturating those gases as well, I'm assuming.
Yeah, as soon as they're done.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, fair.
Like right away, because you need to start making roaches if you think you're gonna get attacked by some bullshit.
Type.
But yeah, all it is right now, like I said before, is this reaction is you've already kind of missed the window to react. So
it's significantly too late, and now is panic time.
Yeah, and spines, never want to make spines here, because this does nothing for this base. And if this base dies, you're fucked anyways.
Where I was at mentally is that I did not get the scout off that I needed to see, because now I kind of have a pretty good idea of what he's going to be doing. I didn't see a Dark Shrines, and obviously, as you pointed out, there's no gases either, so I'm pretty certain that I'm going to be hit with charge lots, and I'm assuming that I'm going to have to sack the third base, and I just want to not completely die, and I want to have a slight chance.
If you sack the third, that I'm not going to say it's guaranteed a loss, but that is definitely not what you want to be aiming for. That's not like should be your goal. I would say the best thing you could, like, this is also why you need a more standard roach timing, because your roach one's not even going to finish until almost 5 minutes.
Yeah, because it started at after 4 minutes.
Yeah, it started at 4:10, which is incredibly late. That's what you should think, that roach warren is way too fucking late. I was
panicking because in my mind, like, that roach warren is really late. If he's attacking me with anything meaningful, I'm very likely
I get it. I will say this. I am not opposed to how you built these, because this isn't even done, but I am opposed to how late this is, because you don't even need to be doing this. This is like, you're basically,
this is a fuck up.
Yeah, you're like, you've already like taken damage now in the result of this, and you're just trying to mitigate the damage you've taken, but you don't need to take it.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely earlier roach warren, prevent yourself from making static D, not the right idea. And then these gases are also really late, but you're reacting to what you saw, which is, it's a good reaction to what you saw, but your reaction is way too fucking late. So
yeah, it needed to be a full 30 seconds minimum sooner.
This is why I am not a fan of how the Overlord speed is shit against Protoss, because you're waiting, like, if you're waiting for it to go after Zergling speed with like a double drone scout like you would against Terran, by now you're kind of fucked. Like, against Terran, you can be like, I make queens and you can't do anything, but against Protoss, you're like, oh, queens suck. You can just make adepts and kill me, or you can make charge lots and kill me, or like the only thing queens are really gonna do anything against for Protoss is if they go fucking Stargate. So yeah.
So I usually make a lot of queens in ZvP. Is that not necessarily correct? Like, I usually make somewhere between 5 and 7, depending on what I'm seeing. Like, because if it's Stargate, I'm going to go up to like 7 or 8.
Sorry, say that again.
So, in ZvP, I make a minimum of 5 queens. Very minimum.
Yeah.
And then, if I'm feeling especially pressured, or if he's going Stargate, I'm continuously making queens up to like 8.
Yeah, only if you go Stargate. Only Stargate. You do not need to make
Nothing
extra
else.
queens against Council or Robo. Like, realistically. You really don't.
Even in a situation of like all-ins or whatever,
That's why what's happening with your economy. Like queens are pretty fucking terrible
it's already
against
fucked
Protoss.
up.
Like queens, if you have queens in the front line against charge lots, against mass adepts, against immortals, sentries, if you got queens in the front line, they're not gonna accomplish a whole lot. The best thing queens are gonna provide you is creep spread to have a terrain to work with against an all-in. But it's not really gonna be like, oh, queens are gonna hold the line here. It's not the same as Terran. Like, Terran is much more doable to have queens really do something there.
And obviously against Zerg, they're also critical.
Like, mass queens against Zerg is a bit more different again. It's like more, I think Zerg and Protoss are a lot more similar than Terran's kind of an outlier.
Yeah. We're not talking about ZvZ right now. I don't really make that many queens in ZvZ. I make like 4.
Yeah, if you make there are some styles that work the queens in ZvZ, but yeah, like it's again that's a really fucking particular kind of a build that it's like greed, but yeah, we can talk about that some other time.
Yeah, we're not talking about that at the moment.
Yeah, but yeah, queens against Protoss again, great against Stargate, kind of fucking terrible against Council Robo. Not the best to make mass of them.
Fair enough.
You'd be better off with your life would be 10 times easier if you just made more roaches, and you knew how to react to the Protoss and go, I know when to make my gas, so now I can have enough roaches as you show up. Because if your army is like, let's say your army is 5 roaches, 30 lings, and 7 queens, and he's charge outlining you, you're gonna fucking die. You're definitely gonna die.
Yeah,
but if
you're toast.
But if your army is only like 4 lings left, which is whatever, let's say your other scouting lings died or something, that's fine. And so you have like 4, and you have like 2 queens at the base that he's attacking because you have 1 creep spreader and you have 1 injector there, and you have 17 roaches. You're gonna fucking crush his ass.
Yeah, because roaches just absolutely destroy charge lots when they're
roaches are the best answer to this by far. They're so good, and getting roach speed only makes them even better.
So I assume that since we're doing a much more normal thing, and we're going to be having one on gas, that we're going to be taking a layer right around 4 minutes.
Yeah, you're going to be taking your layer right after the roach horn. All right, sorry, like around the time you take the roach horn. Like that's so when you leave 1 on gas, if you do the standard build, you leave 1 on gas after you get Zergling speed, and you saturate 2 mineral lines. By the time you get the second mineral line fully saturated, and that's also when you're going to have 12 to 16 lings because it's going to be all at the same time. You're going to have about 100 gas in the bank as well from the 1 drone. It's going to eventually accumulate that. Then you can, a lot of times you'll be able to fill it back up, go for a layer, and then you can, if you have to, if it's like ridiculously all in, you can always cancel it. That's very rare case scenario. Probably don't have to cancel it most of the time. Most of the time you can probably just let it finish and then get roach speed, and you're going to have your other gases pumping and then making more roaches faster, and then roach speed finishes and suddenly roaches are kiting like machines on creep.
Yep.
But yeah, this army not ideal versus charge lots.
No, yeah, I'm very, very aware of that. Like when I was building this in order to deal with this, I'm like, this guy has every tool he could possibly want to crush me right now.
Yeah,
I'm just very lucky because he got scared.
And also,
that's it.
This is another huge tip as well. So you're still making drones right now. You're asking to fucking die. A Protoss player is supposed to take a 3rd base. Okay, I'll give you some timers for thirds. If a Protoss player takes a 3rd base between like 4:45 and 5 minutes, that's normal. Okay, that's like the epitome of normal. It's not.
4 minutes is 4 minutes is kind of greedy.
Fuck yeah, like at 4 minutes is incredibly greedy for a Protoss. That's like he's got 1 gateway and a Stargate, and he's starting to take a 3rd base. But yeah, 4:45 to 5 minutes, that 15-second window is like he's got a army that can harass you. If you don't have anything to deal with it, it'll definitely fuck you up. But he has all the means to harass you, and it's normal. If a Protoss takes a 3rd base before that, like anytime, like the further before that, the more greedy it is. So if he takes the 3rd base at 4:06, If he takes a third base at 352, that is fucking ridiculously greedy, and that's when you can take Lings and probably crush the third base if you wanted to. If he's not going Council or some shit. Because again, if he's like making mass ground units, and he's also teching his units in doorways with like a shield battery, you might not win anyways. So you gotta be careful. That's why you gotta be careful if it's not Stargate. A lot of times though, if a Protoss takes third that fast, it's going to be Stargate, generally speaking.
And they'll have like an oracle or a void.
Yeah, well, you should also have scouted.
You.
You should have also scouted it already with your Overlord.
Yeah.
So if you're like, I scouted a Stargate and it's only halfway done, and he's taking a third base, and I saw really fast at 3 minutes and 39 seconds or 3 minutes and 51 seconds or something fucking crazy greedy, you could be like, okay, well now I'm gonna make 30 Lings and go kill that. Like again, don't have to do that, but you could. And you could also react to it by going, I'm gonna make 25 drones. That's another way you could do it with making more queens.
See now you're talking my language.
Yeah, I mean you could always make you can always do a macro response if you have good scouting.
Just play extremely greedy because you know they're not going to have anything.
For sure, exactly, because they'll have like one gate off that. But now here's the other side of the coin, okay? If a Protoss doesn't have a third base by like 5:30, you're getting fucking all in right now, and you better be making army by then, like non-stop, because you're about to get hit by a fat timing, and if you don't have something ready for that, you're going to die. So the fact that you're making drones and you haven't scouted the third is super scary. You have an Overlord here, but you have nothing there.
Yep.
Thank God it exists though, because if it didn't, you would be getting run over like right now.
Really dead.
Yeah, like if this guy, for instance, if he was going for a real charge lot all in, by now he could have about 35 charge lots. Genuinely.
And I'd be extremely dead.
Yeah, like this is very late for if he were to still be waiting to hit you if he wanted to 2-base all in you.
Not to mention my lair's not even be done for like another good 20 seconds, 30 seconds.
Yeah, that's super late. Your Evo chambers are way too early as well. This should be started like when you start hydros. Like
really,
this is like last priority for your gas.
Okay.
You don't want to. Yeah, you definitely don't want to be prioritizing upgrades against Protoss at all. Early.
Okay.
Because, for instance, if you get all in, and you have, let's say your
upgrades just don't do dick for you.
Yeah, let's say you go for Carapace and melee, or Carapace and range, or you go for, let's go the cheaper route. Let's say you go melee and range weapons. So 200 gas tied up here. That's 8 roaches that could be existing that aren't while you're getting all in.
Okay.
And those aren't going to be done until after you're dead anyways.
So usually speaking, against Protoss, I'm only getting 1 evolution chamber.
You can get 2
for attack. Does it really matter?
So here's how I like to fight Protoss with Evos. Just simply put, if it's Stargate, I like to get 2, and I like to go for range weapons and Carapace, so I can get a good Hydra army, and so I can deal with Sky Toss. And if it's not, if it's anything on the ground, I like to get 2 anyways, and I like to go melee and range. That way I can upgrade my Hydras, my Lings, my Banes, my Roaches. All of it can be more damage, and also I can upgrade my Lurkers. But what it does that's really strong is it allows you to have the ability to have good, effective Ling run-bys when you have good melee upgrades. And it allows you to have
that makes sense.
Yeah. And armor, like,
and you can get Carapace later on if you need to.
Well, the thing about it, too, is Carapace doesn't fucking matter against ground armies against Protoss. Because
they're just better.
Well, there are breakpoints that Carapace doesn't change. Here's an example. An Immortal, 3 shots a Roach. It doesn't matter if you have Carapace or not.
Regardless of armor, because it just deals so much damage.
It always 3 shots a Roach. Armor is not going to change that. An adept,
Colossus, same thing for Hydras as well.
Pretty much. It's gonna the numbers here are gonna add up to the same pretty much on every fucking scenario. Of the ground, the only unit that changes how many hits it takes to really kill you is a Zealot, and you shouldn't be worried about a Zealot. Because if you're gonna go for like roaches, you can kite zealots and they just die. And if you're gonna go for like more of a Ling centric style with like let's say Ling Bane Hydra, you blow them up and they
never
die.
do.
That's it doesn't matter. Either way, you're not supposed to just face tank zealots. Like it's not ever gonna be a thing you're doing. You're kiting them or you're AoEing them in some way or another, and they're not getting a damage uptime anyways. So it makes no fucking sense to have Carapace against zealots. It doesn't really do much for you there. You can always get Carapace late game. That's fine. It does help you at dealing with things late game in certain ways. But for like early to mid game, Protoss versus Zerg, army size more valuable than a Carapace upgrade, and like a really fast one.
So rather than trying to match them pound for pound, you're just trying to bash them into the ground as fast as possible.
Yeah, you're just trying to swarm them, like literally like play the Zerg methodology there of having more.
More, not better.
Because you'd be much better off having 6 more. Like we're just talking about Carapace only. Carapace is 6 lurches of value. And if your army is going to be, like, think about this. If you're getting charged and upgraded, okay? Or if you're getting charged a lot attacked and you're going for an upgrade of Carapace, and you're like, okay, I could have 15 roaches when he shows up, and he's got like 18 zealots, and I have a Carapace upgrade that's 1/3 of the way done. Or I could have 21 roaches and no Carapace upgrade even started, and he still only has 18 zealots. The more roaches you have, the easier you're going to be able to overwhelm him and kill him. And it's just going to end the fucking push. And you're going to be fine.
Okay. So that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, definitely. And then if you have the Carapace upgrade, what does it do for you in the end of the game anyways? If you're kiting the zealots anyways, it doesn't fucking do anything for you. You want more DPS because you want to kill his DPS before it gets to you anyways, ideally. Like, as much as possible.
So I almost always exclusively play Roach Hydra into the the early mid game, transitioning to something like Hydra Lurker, and maybe if I actually have the attention span and or time to, I get like maybe 3 Vipers if I can afford it.
Okay.
And then just try to kill them as quickly as possible. So most of the time, I've never really gone for Carapace. This is probably the 1 in 10 ZvPs that I've played that I actually did get both.
Okay,
I saw a noticeable difference, but I think most of the time it's probably I would almost always just get 1 evolution chamber.
Sure.
But if I get that, I should be getting that with or like after I get my Hydralisk stand down and like.
You should definitely be starting upgrades. This is when you should start upgrades, and I don't like if you want to pick whatever you want to pick, that's fine. I recommend Carapace versus Carapace range weapon versus Sky Toss, and I like early Stargate shit, like mass voids or whatever. And I recommend melee and range weapon versus ground based Protosses because again it gives you Ling run by potential there in a very effective way.
But that's only after you got your.
It's after you have 3 fully saturated bases and all investments you want to make off of that before you make the evos. So if you want to make Hydras, if you want to make Roaches, you already got Roach speed started. You got both Hydra upgrades started. You got a Hydra Den thrown down already as well. You got your Larva spent, all of it. And then you're like, okay, now I will go with a little bit of extra minerals and gas that I can't spend anymore. Upgrades. It's not a priority against Protoss.
Cool. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Against Terran?
And the reason why it makes a lot,
Yeah, more unit like breakpoints just fuck up this matchup like crazy. But the reason why it's a priority against Terran is because you're fighting things like Marines, and Marines get fucking owned by upgrades.
Yeah.
They're low attack, high rate of fire. Upgrades get more value. Protoss units, not the same. Protoss are like just fucking blow you up in like 1 hit, and you're like, oh cool. Archon just fucking one shots my lings, even if I have Carapace or not. This is sick.
Archons are so fucking good.
Yeah, like it's just breakpoints don't change at all.
I think we can probably breeze through most of the rest of this replay because there's not really a lot to.
Well, I mean, you're like this. I'm telling you right now, the way this is open, you will if you played this way against most Protosses, you'd already be dead fucking like 3 times over in most of your games.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I've played against enough games on ladder to where I've already been dead.
So
I was dead 2 minutes ago.
Everything we talked about needs to be relevant to you in terms of how to set up the game for yourself.
Yeah.
And like the only way you wouldn't be dead from now on is if the Protoss is passive. That's the only way you would still be alive. Which is kind of happening here because the Protoss is literally taking a 3rd base.
Very, very lucky. This is bad. I end up losing.
It's okay. Like, I mean, this is kind of pointless. Yeah. If you were gonna do an attack like this attack would have needed to have happened at like 4 minutes, 350.
Yeah.
Like if it was like a greedy Nexus. I don't mind that you're getting Carapace this game, by the way, because he's got Stargate.
Yeah, I didn't even know that though until just now, and I already had both evolution.
Sure,
chambers,
I mean,
so
I get that, right?
It still stands that they were still way too early.
For sure, but if you did it as a reaction to him going Stargate, it's totally fine in the future.
I also get a little tunnel visioned on this void ray being really annoying.
Yeah, I saw.
Or just existing.
It's okay. I mean, it definitely sucks a little bit, but I mean, it is what it is. So another thing to do, here's another thing to keep in mind. Okay. If the Protoss, there's 2 times to take drones to your 4th base. Okay, number 1.
Okay.
There's a really important. There's super important to understand. The first time you can take drones for your 4th base is when you defend a timing. That's one way to do it because his army just died, and now you're like, cool, I'll fucking go drone crazy, yeah. And then you saturate your 4th. Another time to take drones for a fourth, if the Protoss is passive, is not necessarily when he takes a third, but when he tech switches as well. If he tech switches and takes a third, that's fine. If he's like diversifying tech like crazy, the point here is that the it's kind of hard to read, but the point that you need to understand is if you have like a changeling or like an overseer or a Zergling scout or whatever, something that looks at the Protoss and you go, I have enough to not die right now, I can squeeze out Hydras, then that's fine.
Right.
But if you ever just straight up fucking saturate 4 bases off of like 6 drones and he pushes you, you're gonna die. So
yeah,
you need to like,
which has also happened to me quite a lot, and like I'm glad that you're mentioning it without
like a good like realistic, easy to remember thing to do. Here's something that I do whenever I'm just like playing fucking lazy and autopiloting, but it works a lot. Okay. It's like if you're not really reading the game as well as you want to be, make 16 roaches. Make 16 roaches. Try to have good creep spread. Your creep spread's not bad. Honestly, keep your creep spread up. It's actually looking pretty decent for diamond. It's not bad. Make it better even, but not bad at all. It's because it helps with this process. Make 16 roaches, get speed, and then you can eventually start making hydras later. But if you start making drones off of 16 hydras and you're kind of confused as to like what the Protoss is doing, you don't have a read yet, but you don't want to waste larva time. If you make drones and you know he's not going air, you can always make ravagers out of those roaches and stall with corrosive bile to make more units. So, and when I say make ravagers, I don't mean make all 16 of them ravagers. I mean probably make 8.
Make like
8, honestly.
5 to 8.
Do like 8. And then you could be like bile. Just like be fucking annoying by staggering biles and buy yourself time. And you make ravagers as soon as he walks on creep if you fuck it up. And you're like, oh shit, he's actually pushing. This isn't what I expected. I just made drones. 8 ravagers immediately. And then as he pushes like deeper, you're like biling a choke point or something. And you're just buying time for yourself.
To get more units out.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Good to know. This is just a cute push. This is not even really that, like, ooh, yay, I got a thing. I lose a couple roaches and then I run away.
That was kind of YOLO. Like, this is kind of a YOLO push, and a big reason why it's a YOLO push is because, where is your hydrogen? Where the fuck did you put that? That's why.
It's over there.
Don't ever do that.
Yeah, because speed's not done, and those hydras are slow as shit.
If he pounced on you, you would just be retreating and losing everything. And you'd be like, oh, well, that sucks. You could push with roaches. Do not push with hydras. Roaches can retreat because you have speed on them. Do not ever push with a unit without speed. Keep that shit defensive until it has speed. Yeah. The only time that would ever make sense to push without speed, off creep, would be if he just failed an attack and you wanted to counter attack. So that was YOLO as fuck, is what you just. That was almost potentially throwing the game for you.
Yeah, like even when I was sitting here watching this in the replay, I was just going, yeah, that wasn't like I got the cyber core. Ooh, whoop de fucking do.
Yeah. So what you're doing now with drones here, I'm not against it. I'm not like anti what you're doing here, but if you're gonna play this way, I would say you're gonna be now playing for the long game. So what you should definitely be doing now, if you want to set up static D at your bases, you should set it up at all of your bases, and you should be going for lurkers, which you have, which is great. You should be making lurkers to like zone out the map a little bit, and then you should leave like a lurker at both sides of the base, like this side because charge zealots could walk this side. You should leave a lurker at this base because zealots, if they walked, would walk that base first.
Just a single lurker?
Yes, and then one lurker at like the main base. And the reason it's like what I call it is like triangle lurker defense, because you would be able to deal with a prism in the main with all your tech, a lot of your tech, and then if you walked across the map instead of war prisming into your base, you could deal with it with a lurker at the outside bases, and you would pair this with static D, like spore spine.
It's a really low investment for your army supply.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, he's going to be investing a lot into charge lots because what you're doing is split map scenarios here, and then while you're doing this, you need to drone a lot, like to like 100, because you need to literally make static D. Like, don't stay at 100 forever, but drone up to like 100 and then drop it back to like 80. Because
you need to replace the drones. That
because
you use to make
you do not want to be fucking like if you're gonna make static D, you need to make static D everywhere. Like you don't want to be doing like one base and then that's all you're gonna do the whole game.
I'm gonna be putting static D in other places. I think the only 2 bases that I'm gonna.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No,
there's only gonna be 2 other bases that aren't gonna have static D, and that's the third and the natural. But those are also kind of like in the middle, which lends them to not be attacked nearly as often.
Sure. Definitely want static D at all bases though. If this is it's a commitment. This is something you can't just do and then do it for one base. Like so, I mean, yeah, doing it all bases is important because you're just exposed
Yep.
everywhere else otherwise for a while if you don't do it for a long time.
Which makes plenty of sense.
And then
Oh no, our base is under attack. How'd this happen?
And then that was kind of annoying, but I'm also tunnel visioning here.
It's all
I'm
good.
not like going and trying to pay attention to multiple things.
Yep.
So.
So now at this point, so if you set up your static D, I mean, like this shit needs to be set up a lot faster. There we go in your main. I would say if you can, maybe consolidate it a little bit more and maybe put it in more choke pointy locations. Like put a static D structure like there. Put it one like the ones behind the middle line are fine. Put more like put them there.
But
Put
they
it
need to
there.
be a little bit closer to where you're actually gonna be attacked.
You want zealots
not way over there next to the other gas geyser.
You just got to think about service area. You want zealots to bottleneck while they try to kill spines. You don't want them to fully surround spines. Because if you think about how effective zealots are going to be against this, they're going to be incredibly effective. Like they're going to fully surround, fully
surrounds on all
exactly,
four
and your spines are just going to disappear. But if they're like spine, like spine there, spine there, spine there, spine there, suddenly a lot less surface area because the hatchery blocks half of the surface area on the spine straight up, and they get stuck. Like the zealots will like traffic jam right here in a doorway trying to kill a spine, and they'll be fucking
really
idiots.
dumb.
And then if you have a lurker there, it's cleaving into all this fucking clumped up zealot action, and you get like so much efficiency of damage there. And all your bases should be like that, like spine, 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 spine.
So rather than spamming it down, actually sit down and think about it.
Well, like you can spam it, just keep this in mind, okay? There's 2 rules of thumb here that you need to abide by. Number 1, never build on the inside of the mineral line against the mineral patches. So
right,
the way
then you're gonna block off mineral.
Yeah,
patches.
the way this spine is here is perfect. It's not against the mineral line on the inside of the patches. It's not against it though. So that's it's against the hatchery instead. That is fucking perfect. But then on the outside, put it against the mineral line on the outside. So you'd want to put it there, or like you want to put it there, or you'd want to put it there. So you hug the minerals on the back, but you hug the hatchery on the front. But you never put the spines, ideally, all over the front of the hatchery like this, unless you have a lot of them and you just can't fit any more back here. Like, and you also never want to connect 2 spines together because then it blocks the patches again, if you put it against the hatchery. So always gap it by at least 1. And if you follow those rules, it's super good.
Be all right.
But like this base definitely is exposed to zealots. This base is exposed to zealots. This base is exposed to zealots. So you want to definitely make sure you put your spines more harder to attack locations.
Cool. Things to remember. That's the one. Accidentally ran a bunch of roaches to their death.
Yeah, he just ran a disruptor. This guy's like a hybrid of like disruptor with semi sky toss, semi ground. This needs to be, yeah, I would say a good number of lurkers is what you have now. It's nice. The way you would fight against this is you would burrow and you would need to dodge the disruptors. Like you can actually up burrow and run away from a disruptor shot and then go back before it shoots you.
Okay.
So if you just burrow and sit there and just eat the fucking shot, it's not a great idea. And then here's something too. You need to start doing a lot more, I would say. So, Victus, take a second with me and let's imagine some Zerglings that might exist right now, okay? Now, if you had imagine if you had these roaches, okay? You're like, I don't want them anymore. I need to get rid of them, but here's the purpose they might serve for you. Imagine if you paired
as counters.
Yeah, imagine if you paired like 30 supply. That's a lot of lings. Of 30 supply of lings with these roaches. Just an example, because you're zoning him with lurkers, he can't push you. So it's stalemating on this side. It's a stalemate. That's what you want. That's great. That makes counterattacks fucking super nice because he's out of position. And if you had the lurker, like the one lurker in the spine setup, this would do nothing. This is probably still going to do not much, but your spines aren't really in good range of each other. Like these 2 will fight the zealots.
No, yeah, they're not covering each other at all.
Yeah, like these spines aren't going to do shit until these spines are like dead. But you get the point. But if you had like 6 or like 7 roaches, whatever you had here, as paired with a bunch of lings, you could run down, and you could either kill this base. That base is, I mean, there is a stasis ward there, but this base is very susceptible. If you had adrenal gland upgraded melee lings, you would fucking.
So regardless, you always just get adrenal glands, don't you?
Yes, I always do. I fucking love lings, man. They're so good because this guy's breaking the same rule that I just told you not to break. You would fucking destroy these cannons with lings. So goddamn fast. They're not even covered by a battery.
The lings even surround faster than Zealots.
No, they do, yeah. So. They're not even covered by a battery, and he's giving you so much surface area to abuse here with melee units. You would annihilate these cannons, and then this base would just die. And then what if you went further, and you ran into his base? He doesn't. I was saying if you had roaches here, you could actually pop the unit in the door and run into his base. There's not even this isn't even a proper door. This is a double gap, so it's huge. One zealot can't even block that. And even if there was like 2 or 3 zealots blocking it together, you could just snipe him with a group of roach volley, and then the zealots would die. You could run into his base, and he's got nothing to protect his probes. And that
and then he loses his mind and dies.
Yeah, and then he loses a lot of probes. If he pulls back, you know what you do then? You up burrow,
Chase.
and you don't even have to chase him. Honestly, you could up burrow and just go, I'll kill that base of lurkers now. And then you could always fall back and repeat the process. Stalemate him again and counterattack him again. Counterattacks is how you win ZvP late game. 100%. Because you make your opponent engage into shitty fights.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why
I'm seeing common mode here, because one of the things that almost always wins me games when I'm playing ZvZ is because since ZvZ is so volatile and you get Ling Bane very, very early, is almost every single time that I'm making an attack in ZvZ, I'm at least sending 10 Zerglings into their main base as I'm going and killing whatever the hell they have at their natural base.
Yeah, for sure. The counterattack's fucking over.
Or if they're attacking me, I'll send off like 5 Zerglings and morph them into Banes and go kill all
Yeah,
the
no, it's
grounds.
great. Counterattacks are amazing. They're super good. And the fact that you're already doing it's great. Definitely use it more in ZvP. That's why I like the melee upgrade if they're going for ground as well. And then like I just said before, counterattacks are super important, just like it is for Protoss. So if you counter that in an effective way yourself with like the triangle lurker thing I said, the 1 lurker at outer bases and 1 for the tech in your main, and then you place well-placed spines, zealots don't get shit done, and you easily stalemate him while zoning out his counter while fucking his base with your counter if he doesn't do proper defenses. And you break him down over time. Because if you don't counter and you just kind of tunnel vision this army, you don't really take advantage of nearly as much as you could be. They kind of double stalemates. Like he stalemates you with disruptors, and you kind of stalemate him with lurkers.
Yeah, which is kind of what's going to happen here, except right here. He just kind of runs into the lurkers.
Yeah, you guys both just don't really accomplish a whole lot. It's kind of like he runs away or you run away. Now you're going to run away because you're losing a bunch of units because you're overextending here.
Yeah, yep. And then the rest of the game is kind of just like this, really.
No, for sure. And like this base is like, imagine this. If he's on the left side of the map because you're over here for something, you could always even counterattack this base. And if he's on the right side, you can always just counterattack his left side. You literally always counterattack the opposite side of where he is. Because if you can make him...
Because you're making him commit hard somewhere else.
Yeah,
and
you're stalemating
him with a smaller force.
You're just stalemating him over and over. Like, you're not trying to kill his army. You're trying to go, hey, I'm here. You need to defend that. But I'm really going to kill you somewhere else, too. Like, and you're not killing him. You're just starving him. It's really what you're doing. You're like, you can't mine here anymore. Which means you're running out of resources. You're running out of resources. And you're running out of resources. And then he's like, well, fuck, now I have to kind of all in you because I can't have any money. And then every time he attacks you, you fucking counterattack him again. And you're like, well, if now you're losing your base in a semi-base trade situation, you can't stalemate me anymore. You need to just go and commit and run into those lurkers. Otherwise, you're dead anyways. Like, you need to make Protoss feel threatened by countering them into a bad situation. That is how ZvP is. That is how almost all StarCraft is played late game, honestly. But that is especially true about ZvP. Because ZvP, I'm not going to lie, a lot of Zergs complain about this matchup. And they're like, fucking Protoss is broken. Oh, my God. But it's
because they're, like, it's even I do this all the time where I'm trying to fight them straight up.
Well, exactly. You're not
never
taking
gonna win that.
Exactly. You're not taking the advantage of a defensively postured setup. You're aggressively pushing into them, which is not the advantage for you. Because if a Protoss and you clash in the middle of the map, it's going to be a little bit easier for the Protoss to micro that army, and he's going to probably win the fight most of the time. But even furthermore, if you clash the Protoss when he's with batteries and cannons and a choke point, you're going to definitely fucking lose that fight. But if you make the Protoss push into you, when you have static D, you have creep, you have choke points, you have lurkers nicely spread out, the Protoss is suddenly going to be like, okay, this is really fucking hard to engage into. But I have to, because if I don't do anything, my base is dying to lings right now. So am I going to turn around and go home, or am I going to push this? Like, what am I going to do here? You make the Protoss feel, like, really pressured. That's what a good Zerg will do to Protoss. They will make Protoss feel like the longer the game is waiting and progressing, the more fucked they are because they're running out of money. because the Zerg is starving them out and like literally just spreading creep constantly in the map. And suddenly like this base dies, and the next time Protoss brings a probe up here, there's fucking creep here, and you're like, oh okay, okay, now I gotta bring my army back to kill the fucking creep. I can't do anything. That's what good Zergs do to Protoss, is that make them through counterattack maneuvers. You just
and eventually smother them.
Exactly, 100%. You literally you break them and you smother them with creep. That's a good way to say that. That's perfect. But yeah, if you're not doing it, you're allowing him to have bases, and if you just straight up always take one fight to one fight, you might take inefficient trades like this, I imagine. Again, like you're always chasing him off and you're following, which is what he wants you to do when he's got Skytoss plus Robo. That's like him just being like, yeah, chase me and I will blow you up with disruptor shots. I will zap your ass with Colossus shots. Like right here, if he throws out 2 disruptor shots, this is so scary for you right here. Holy fuck. Oh my god, what is this guy doing?
He's addicted to the select all army hotkey, from what I can see.
Yeah.
I mean, he has no army. He has no army. Hotkey,
I mean, yeah, he totally fucked that up, for sure. But imagine, just think about this. That guy fell apart right there. But imagine how much harder he'd fall apart as well if you had a link counter fucking his base at the same time, and he's really panicking.
Pressing the panic button quite hard. I've also had to slow down how much StarCraft I'm playing, killing my wrists.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Last Saturday I played 39 games, no shit.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot. That's like 10 hours of StarCraft.
I did it in 3.
Okay, you're a cheesy boy.
No, I wasn't. Honest to God, I wasn't.
Or your opponents are cheesy boys. So one of those is happening.
Sometimes they are. Sometimes I'm bad. You know,
Sure.
It's a mix of both.
For sure. Yeah, that's a lot of games though.
It certainly had me have my wrists hurting like a motherfucker. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
I thought that was especially funny though. He goes and attacks the base and his entire ground army dies.
No, for sure. I mean, you definitely have momentum right now. So you pushing aggressively like this makes sense because you won a fight. You can go all over him all day like this if you win a fight, and you can.
Well, he's gonna leave the game in a second.
No,
so.
for sure. Because the thing is even if you take a little bit of like, he gets a decent trade here, he gets a decent trade there. If you're killing bases, he's fucking starving, and you can replace, and he can't. It's only gonna get.
That's exactly what I was thinking at the time because he was going to go attack my 4th base, but I've killed 2 of his. So if I go back and defend that and kill whatever army is there, I'm definitely not gonna lose.
That was totally fine the way you set that up this time. Like after the counter, because you fucking owned him right there. So that was totally fine. I loved it. Always always pounce when you have advantage every time. So that was good. And then now you're being a little bit more conservative. You're baiting lurkers forward over Hydra. This is a good setup. You're doing this time again really well. This is logical. But again, here's something I would say to you once again. Imagine if you don't even have to send, let's say, like if you had lings, that'd be great. But let's just say hypothetically, you took just like a lurker, okay, and maybe like 5 hydras, something that's not like detrimental to the entire grand scheme of your army, just a little bit. And you went, okay,
just a small chunk.
Let's have you 1 lurker and 5 hydra walk into his main base, and let's fucking wipe out this middle line, and let's wipe out that. Like just like be annoying, even though there's nothing here. You get the point though. You have locked him off from his own base. You could totally fuck his base with this. So if you push his army now, I would say this is wrong. Like
I actually am about to.
No, I know you are because your hedges are going forward. But like this is just like you have it. Like, what's your advantage with this army? It's him walking into lurkers, right? It's not you walking into him with hydras. His advantage.
I'm zoning his army away forever with lurkers because
exactly
what he has, he's never going to be
so
able to attack.
If you think about it, if you actually killed this base, let's just say let's say you didn't even do the thing I just said, where you sent 1 lurker and 5 hydras or whatever, but you killed this base. You just killed the base. So what if you uprode your lurkers and you ran your hydras south, and your hydras ran into the door, and you started killing his wall, and your lurkers burrowed right there, and you zoned him, and then the whole wall's dead because your hydras killed the wall, and whatever lurkers were killing it killed it too, but your lurkers zoned him upwards, and the wall's dead, and now lurkers up burrow, and your lurkers all burrow right here, and on top of the ramp. You finish the base off, and a lot of your hydras run into the main base now, and you're killing the main.
That's two bases dead.
Exactly, and then you're killing the main.
As
then,
compared to, I'm just gonna go fight your.
Yeah,
army.
and then you burrow here with your lurkers. You like, this is all dead now, so you burrow here with lurkers, and you zone the ramp out with lurkers, and you kill the entire fucking main base of all the tech in production. If the Protoss chases you, you can then send like a route. Well, like, his base is dead, and he has to run into lurkers, and then you could even be like, you know what? How about we make 20 lings, like 10 supply of lings? Go run down here and finish off that base that I see with the drone, because he's not even there. It's totally fine. And then if he doesn't chase you and he's like, all right, no, fuck that, I'm gonna go counterattack your base. You could leave, like, again, like I said, like 1 lurker and like 5 hydras could just stay here and fucking wipe out a whole base because he's not gonna defend it at all. And then your rest of your army of lurker hydra could go back on your creep and get in a position to zone him out again. Like, go push him off your base.
Which makes a lot of sense because you're not trying to directly fight him because you're never going to win that fight.
Yeah.
You're not trying.
You're
not
only
trying
fighting
to win
him.
A fair fight.
You're only fighting him on creep. Like, you're only forcing the issue on creep. You're not forcing it off creep. Like, because like the reason why I told you that I don't like this anymore. I liked it the first time because you just killed his army, but I didn't like it the second time because you just lost a lot of your army and you backed off and you remade, and then you came back again. And I loved your first setup. It was great. But then you're forcing the issue again. And if you didn't have as much of an advantage as you did, you'd throw the fight away right here. And you'd give him the advantage.
Yeah.
So you play to your advantages more, I would say.
Because I have no knowledge of whether or not has like 30 carriers in his main base and is about to.
Well, I mean, you have a little bit because you did kill a lot of his expansions. That was a nice attack. And you're probably going to win the game even if you play wasteful like this. I just want, like, if a game ended up being a little bit closer than it was and you didn't kill as much of his economy as you did, being so wasteful like this doesn't need to be the case. You can, like, I'm just trying to make you think about ways you can approach a situation to make the Protoss have the disadvantage to you rather than just YOLOing, more or less.
Yep. Which makes sense.
Because in a moment where the game was a lot closer, if you play YOLO, you lose. And if you play more conservative, you force the Protoss to YOLO and then you win.
Fair enough.
So overall, I know you win here and the game's over, but overall, about what we just talked about, you have any questions about stuff?
So, I only have like little questions. They're not really that in depth.
Okay.
I took my hive somewhere around like 9-ish minutes this game. Is that ballpark right time, or should I be having it sooner or later?
Maybe slightly sooner. Like,
so like 8 minutes.
Yeah, like maybe like 8 to 9. 9 is like okay. It's not that bad. It kind of depends. Like, so here's why it kind of depends. Depends on how that mid game goes. If he's really aggressive and you're like stuck making a lot of units or not, or if you're just straight teching the hive with greed. It depends. Okay. But okay. 9 is not that bad. It's not that bad.
So am I being owned by mass blink stalkers or some kind of timing attack or whatever?
So like if you tech,
is he playing passive?
Yeah.
More passive.
Yeah, exactly. Like you just need to play kind of based off the game. But 9-minute hive is not bad. It's not like, oh my god, do it faster. It really just depends on the game at hand as to how he plays too.
And then like the last thing is, are there any general timings if I'm going to be going Roach Hydra for my early mid game and early game? I guess not really early game, but early mid game. If I'm doing that, is there any kind of pushes that I should be looking to do, or should I be trying to prevent him from doing pushes?
So you said you like macro, so you definitely should not be going for the pushes yourself. You should be the guy who counters with lurkers with hive tech upgrades. That should be how you play. And then you should be the guy who also like static D. You like bases. You like creep spread. That's great. I love that shit too. I'm not the kind of guy who always goes for a timing attack to kill somebody either myself. So what you should...
That's what I've been doing. I've been doing timing attacks against Protoss.
Stop doing it. Just feel confident.
I'm so tired of doing it.
Feel confident in like the late game with counterattack potential and like being able to control the game and stuff like that. So you should just go for what you did this game, like later on, but add in more static D, add in your triangle lurker defense, that kind of shit. Yep. And add in the ling upgrades so you can actually do real counterattacks for real. And then if you play that way, you can set up a overall better rounded like late game for yourself that you can deal with a lot of shit in the late game with Protoss. And then
so I should be defaulting to getting range melee rather than
only if he goes ground. Like this game, I would say you should have definitely opened up with 1-1 melee and range weapons. And then as soon as he went air, you would have had level 1 melee range weapons, and then you could have gone into like level 2 missile weapons and level 1 carapace because he's going air now, and you're not sure if he's going to go sky toss. But then as soon as you confirm he's not going sky toss, and he's got a lot of fucking zealots with it still, a shitload of robo with it, It's like he's got like 20 supply or 30 supply of air, but a lot of ground go right back into getting fucking melee and range weapons. So you would be like 1 missile melee, one melee, 2 missile, 1 carapace, and then go back into like 2 melee, 3 missile, and then 3 melee, 2 carapace, and then eventually 3 carapace, if that makes sense. Off of the double evo. Because like you're basing it off of what you see, not only what you scout, but what he attacks you with. And if he's not going sky toss, you don't need to get carapace. Like as a priority.
And then the last question that I have. Assume I didn't break this guy at all, right? That we're in the late game, working with maxed out armies. What am I going to be trying to tech for when he's going for that late game Protoss death ball type strategy?
So are you comfortable using a spellcaster? Are you comfortable using spellcaster?
I've been practicing with some of my friends.
This
I'm fully comfortable.
This is what I think you should do in a very easy way. Don't even use infestors. I think infestors add such like they're really good.
I have not fucked with infestors. I've almost exclusively worked with vipers.
Infestors are super complex, and if you add them into everything else, and they make the army really good, but it requires a fucking lot of finesse from Zerg. If you just do this, you'll have a really easy time against Skytoss, like an easier time against Skytoss. So here's what you do. He has Skytoss. You know where he's going to engage because you're scouting for it. Your creep exists. You have changelings, whatever. You're waiting for him to engage you. You're counterattacking him at the same time with lings and shit like that being annoying. If he engages you and you have some static D, like spores, like be liberal with spores. If you make 20 spores, I love it. Make those 20 drones again. I fucking love it. Get a lot of spores mixed in your hydras and lurkers. When he engages it, abduct the carrier first. And then as soon as you abduct it, parasitic bomb that fucker right above your lurkers, and fight under that. If the carrier dies while bombed, the parasitic bomb persists through death. It's still in the area, and if he's trying to kill your shit in that spot, your hydras and your parasitic bomb will bop interceptors like fucking crazy. And then as soon as you pop a lot of interceptors, you can upburr your lurkers and just fucking shove those Templar or whatever else he has, and then burrow in his face and like wipe him out, and then hydras follow in beyond it. And you can abduct carriers as he tries to run away, whatever. You can just like pick them apart. Just do not lead with hydras, because you'll get stormed to death.
You want to lead with the lurkers, so that way they can keep zoning whatever AOE he's.
Yeah, and also lurkers are faster than hydras too, and they will burrow super quick and just kill the Templar. Cool. And that would be a good way to deal with the late game for you.
I've died to the late game versions of Protoss quite a few times. I just get really frustrated with it, and I think part of it is patience, and I just have no idea what I'm.
Just remember, if you're getting attacked, try to leave your Viper like not exactly on where you're getting attacked, but try to put your Viper like a little bit before. Like let's pretend that the Protoss is where your Zerg is, okay? Like the lurkers over here on the right, and then his little group of units here is where your lurkers are. In like a situation where you got shit burrowed, or like we can even reverse it. So let's say this is his Skytoss. We can see Protoss here. That's Skytoss. And let's say your lurkers are right here, where they are right now, where I'm green boxing. If your Viper abducts right on top of the lurker, it's not going to work because it doesn't abduct directly to itself. It abducts slightly in front of it. So your Viper should abduct like right there, on like a carrier or something, and then it'll pull the carrier from there to here if your Viper is there. So if he's here,
it'll abduct it like a really short distance.
You'll pull him a little bit in front of where your Viper is, and then you can parasitic bomb right there, and then fucking kill it. Like Hydra's kill that carrier. I just parasitic bombed it. Kill it now, so it doesn't leave. And then the parasitic bomb will just sit there, and every interceptor that flies in the area will just get fucking popped by AOE. If you do that, you'll actually deal with Skytoss relatively well with a Hydra lurker based composition.
So pretty much the answer is just go Vipers.
I mean, you already said.
To go like
for you it is. For you it is because you already said you're using it, and I think you have a skill level that you can handle it. Like you're basically very close to Masters 1, or sorry, Masters League.
Fucking hell! I was about to say, Jesus,
you're
giving me way too much credit
you're
there.
close. You're close to Masters League, so and you're already using them anyways, so you definitely can handle it. I think.
Yeah, I've been working with some of my friends who are in Masters, and like, hey, I just want to use Vipers, use them, and mess around and be able to actually get used to how they function.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Pull the abduct, pull him back, pull it over your army, hit the parasitic bomb.
Yeah, no, for sure. But yeah, that's pretty much. I think that's pretty much it, man. For
all right,
the ideas for you, just remember, if your early game is more effective and stronger, you'll have a much stronger mid game and late game. And so The stuff we talked about earlier game about how to read Protoss in the start. I'm glad you said that's what you're weak on, because definitely in this replay, I agree with you. If you fix that,
Yeah, it's 100% what I'm weak on. It's just really, I found it really hard to understand what they're doing, but you've given me a little bit more context, and that's very helpful.
yeah.
Thank you.
So I mean, I feel like watch again or listen again to what I said, and hopefully over time, as you experience more of it and you get more of a real appreciation for like in the game, like you've experienced it yourself, you can understand more of what we talked about earlier in this lesson. Like things will click more and make more sense.
Sounds dope.
Yeah, because Protoss initial investment, I'm not gonna lie, dude. I really think this. The Protoss initial investment is the easiest thing to read out of all races in the game. Like the Protoss has the hardest time hiding their tech hiding their plan out of all 3 races, in my opinion. Because if you know what to look for, they're fucking obvious. Like they can trick you sometimes, but in general, things like
and that's gonna be a lot higher level play too, right?
no, for sure. Like it never ends, and it only gets more elaborate as you go up. Like the higher you go, the more elaborate it can be. But like an example would be something like, if the guy gets a core done and he doesn't make something out of it, you fucking already have an idea how he's gonna play, because you're like, oh, you're a gas saver, you're a tech guy, you're not a fucking standard guy, you're not someone who's just gonna fucking harass me with a quick adept, or whatever. You're not gonna prioritize warp gate for safety. You can tell people's playstyles based off subtleties like that, and then that leads you to assumptions that you prove through further scout.
Cool.
So again, I know it's kind of like it might be a little confusing at times to listen to that shit, but it will only make more sense as you go.
You have to play a lot of games.
Yeah.
Last thing.
Okay. Last one for sure. I actually gotta go to this.
Last one for sure, and then you gotta go. I need to use the bathroom too. So just like a quick rundown. When I'm dealing with cannon rushes,
Okay.
the thing that I'm like going for is I'm trying to get like roach worn down and be able to get ravagers to be able to push it back.
Okay.
What is the plan when they actually fully commit to
So,
the all in?
I have a good answer. I have a good
logo,
answer for you.
start date, whatever.
This is a long answer, and I'm not gonna be able to give you a good one right now. But here's a good one that's a supplement.
I guess Reader's Digest clip notes.
Well, no. If you go to my coaching section, I've talked about this. There are 3 types of cannon rush, either in my replay analysis or in my coaching section. Both of them have a lot of these videos. And anyone in the stream, or anyone who's watching this from YouTube doesn't know, if you're on my channel, if you just click my channel, there's a replay analysis section and a coaching section for videos.
I'm going to your YouTube.
I have. There's lots of them that I've talked about where I've talked about 3 types of cannon rush, and then I explain fucking very elaborate ways of all of them, and it's things I talk about for like an hour, because there is actually a lot of intricacies to cannon rush as well if you know how to read positioning and playstyle of Protoss. Like that all fucking matters a lot. So that's why I said that's like a long answer.
ZvP differentiating and how to handle multiple types of cannons.
There you go, fucking that perfect video. I have made a lot of them, and I talk about a lot. Like, so when I make videos and talk about shit, I don't just talk about something else every different time. I talk about the same shit quite often. Like it's fucking, because there's concepts that you have to keep always referencing.
I've seen some of the different ways that you've held cannon rushes, specifically in the BDGM series, and it's usually like Ravagers.
No, it happens sometimes for sure.
Something different, something similar.
But I mean, that right there will give you a good idea of how to like handle that shit, and like that is like that could be your homework for this coaching lesson. Watch that video to like also learn how to deal with cannon rush, and it will help you feel really confident about.
I just added it to a playlist to my playlist that's literally called Vibe Coaching.
Nice. It'll make it really easy to like not only identify it, but it'll make it easy on how to make a choice and how to then proceed further once you identify what you think it is.
All
right, man. Well, have a good night. Thank you for doing a coaching lesson. Yeah.
It's a pleasure as always. Thank you very much, Vibe.
All right. Yo, take it easy, man. Much love. I'll send this to you by tomorrow as well, by the way, when I get the VOD done.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Later, man.
Bye.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching the coaching lesson. I hope you guys enjoyed it. That was a long one. We went quite a bit over that one. It's okay, though. We were in the heat of discussion. But, guys, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it helped you as well. I will see you guys in the next video, whatever it might be. So good luck in your games, whatever you're going to do. Good luck in life. Appreciate you. I'll always be around to give you more videos. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Later, guys.